CMMS Radio talks about all things CMMS, computerized maintenance management software, focused on maintenance management. It's the people, the process, and the culture that make your CMMS journey a success. Welcome back to CMMS Radio. You can see him on screen. That's Brandon Cummings with Flowpath. You know I'm friends with these guys. Throw them up again, bro. It has been a long time, Brandon. Thanks for being back with me here.
Yeah, definitely. Good to be here.
Yeah, so one of the things we plan to talk about, it's kind of a buzzword, but it's AI, artificial intelligence. We know that's actually machine learning. We know it's large language models. But what I love most about how you guys approach that was when I had Alex Cummings on. We were talking about how you put so much time into this development prior to the release. And now that it's been out, you've started to turn the corner and introduce more well-vetted ways to leverage that technology for your clientele to actually add some value to how they're managing day-to-day, looking at big picture stuff. So what's the latest and greatest in that realm of AI? We'll go ahead and use AI as a term, not buzzy, but just because everybody kind of thinks they know what that is. What's going on with that? What's new, and how is it adding value? You can lead into the kind of the case studies and all that. So give me something.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the last time that we connected, and I know that you've talked to Alex since, we definitely went into kind of why Flowpath hadn't jumped into the AI realm yet. And really, it was important to me not to just slap kind of a sticker on the platform that we were going to be, using a chatbot that could talk back to you or something, right? What I wanted to make sure that we were doing is that we were using something that was extremely intelligent and solving a problem. And so we took probably 12 to 16 months to build this. And we let all of these AI companies kind of evolve, and we were watching and continuously viewing what the enhancements in their models, how their platforms grew for data storage and model versioning intelligence. And so a huge turning point during our development process was one of OpenAI's modeling abilities to basically control strict output. A big problem up to that point was hallucinations. You could tell it, give it one thing, hey, I want you to do this one thing, and it could give you it's going to give you something totally different, right? What it was able to do, though, is you give it an entire dictionary of what its choices are, so it cannot hallucinate. And so that opened up the entire playbook to interface with Flowpath. And so we took then the next, call it 6 to 8 months, and defined almost everything that you can do with a keyboard and mouse in Flowpath, your AI assistant can do in Flowpath as well. So that is what we went into beta with in, I think it was October of last year, and then we went live with it this year in February. We have hundreds and hundreds of AI assistants live, thousands of workers that are constantly syncing and just kind of working on their behalf. And the idea right now is that's free. That is free for every user, unlimited license. Anybody can activate it. You can talk to it, upload pictures, snap photos of equipment, create it. That's kind of what we see as the baseline foundation of what is just possible with AI as a reactionary thing. What we then knew that we wanted to go to was really another buzzword that is huge right now, is agents, AI agents. And what this is defined as I look as, is something that can make a decision on your behalf that is kind of a gray area that normally you would have to do or instruct somebody to do. But it can do these repetitive things and make those decisions on your behalf in consecutive order. So that's what we released back in May, and we basically got a lot of people online with it. And I can hop into that, but that's kind of the new and improved is the work order AI automation package that comes with 3 out of the box agents that I can dive into.
We will. So I want to tell you a little something about this week. I was at the Reliable Plant Conference out in Chicago, and this is an event that's put on by Noria Corporation. I'm friends with them. I go every year. And what's cool about that conference is we have all these different conversations with real maintenance people. They're in the maintenance and reliability space, but it's kind of related to this in that everybody's kind of trying to figure out what's real, what's not. So you mentioned like this idea of like slapping AI because everybody's slapping it on everything they do. It doesn't even matter. I mean, school bus
Right.
drivers are saying I'm an AI school bus driver now, right? Just to get some love. But the reality is we need to understand those things about the hallucinations and what's actually meaningful and practical. On one hand, you get some AI in there, you get some buzz and all that. I get it, but what we're really after is outcomes. And I'm a fan of Flowpath because of that being one of the core elements of how you guys run the business, how it was built, where it came from. So I love that. But I have a friend in the industry, and he's a global known entity when it comes to expertise and things like machine learning, language learning models, and way beyond that, like electronic signature analysis, stuff that you guys don't necessarily get into. His name's
Hmm.
Dr. Howard Penrose. He's the motor doc. And we've often talked about, I've had him on panels where we talked about AI drift, AI hallucinations. So what's cool about what you just said is that you set in some parameters so that you have less of a concern about that drift, that hallucinating, telling it, hey, you can pull from these sets of knowledge, right? These
Right.
models, and then you allow clientele to then develop other models on that. And I think you have some parameters in place so that people know to check on it and say, hey, is it doing what it was supposed to do? Has it decided to start doing things that don't meet our criteria? And I think you are, I know that you are very hands-on in watching what's happening in the system. And that's one of the advantages when you have a co-founder that actually does this stuff. And that's all you do. So I really like that. I I want to have you tell me about these different levels and what's available and get into those kind of case study examples. So jump into it,
Yeah,
man.
absolutely. So our AI assistant, like I said, is very, prompt oriented, right? I want to create this, I want to update this. You're talking to it or you're typing to it, you're uploading a picture. So it's kind of your actions, right? What we released in the last month is the work order AI automation package, and that comes with 3 agents. So it's really the work order lifecycle. It starts with creation, all open work orders, and then analysis of those work orders. So the first one being the inbound parse agent. So meaning you can set up different instructions for this agent to react to different things that create work orders. So when I get a unstructured text message, a phone call, an email, a submission from an external form, a Slack message, I can take that unstructured data, I parse it, and then I assign it to the correct fields of the work order. So we have teams that, parsing and all of that was around, but the level of variation that you get from building automation systems, from salesforce.com's work order ticket if you're a external vendor to something, if it's an email from a teacher, if it's a text message from an athlete in the locker room. There's just so many different variations that you and your team know how to handle when they come in, right? What you can do is outline that instruction to the agent and say, when it comes in from this type of email, this is what I would like you to do. And it can execute on that. And so they don't have to go in and read that and then go in and use that time to do that.
I want to make a comment there because what I love about this is, I was from the industry before and a co-founder and all that, whatever, right? But what you're describing to me is practical. It's how we already did it, but it just is so time consuming. We got to figure out what's this, what's that. We got to double check this, triple check that. And now you have something that actually does that. It's almost like you could remove the AI from it. And it's like we now have a feature that actually works for, let's say, I'm gonna take a shot triaging these things and then doing
Right.
what we already want to do, but we can do it a little bit faster. And it's not an easy button. It's not a set it and forget it. It's a way to augment what we already want to do when we're actually plugged into our maintenance processes. Yeah.
Right, exactly. And so you can have that email come in from a staff member, a teacher, and it's going to identify that this is a plumbing issue at this location for this area of expertise and either assign it or reassign, make a comment. It can triage those incoming work orders. So either somebody that maybe there's something that just consistently happens from a BAS or from a different external system, or it just gives you that little bit of time back, or it's maybe something that is coming up that is going to be a huge lift for your team, like a summer dorm room flip that needs to happen for a summer camp or something, or like something that's happening externally that is going to kind of be that wave of work orders that you can set up this agent to start divvying out work orders in the right way, just like you would, but you can anticipate those things happening and being able to put them in the right direction.
And what comes next after that? Because you were mentioning
Yeah.
there's like three different agents.
Yep. So that's the inbound parse agent. The monitoring agent is the one that sits in the middle of basically analysis and then the creation. This one is probably the most sophisticated agent that we have. What it does is it can monitor every single work order in your system, and you get to say on a periodic basis. So we have like different selections. So every day, every week, every month, I want you to go and you can choose a look back period. You can say, of the last 30 days of work orders, the last 30 to 60 days, the last 90 to 180 days, whatever you kind of want to define there, you can say, I want you to identify and then comment or take action on these work orders that meet this criteria. So this is a great example of being able to find work orders that are slipping through the cracks. So you can see maybe a work order got scheduled, somebody was assigned to it and made a comment, parts were on order, and then nobody has touched it for 2 months. And it's like, oh man, we need to figure that out before I find it in 6 months. And now we have a work order that is just kind of hurting our metrics and all of that. That's exactly what the monitoring agent can do. It can catch those that are slipping through the cracks. It can notify people after that. It can make comments. It can reassign things. So essentially, at scale, you can monitor all of your work orders that in entirety, and then take action on them if they meet the criteria that you or your leadership team or your operations team would even find if they were tasked that, hey, I want you to go find slipping work orders. That's just one bucket that it does is slipping. We can do duplications, so find duplicate work orders. We can do equipment callbacks, so identify similar equipment work orders that look like they're callbacks. And then there's everything from analysis of make a comment and tag somebody, so they'll receive a notification if a work order just meets certain criteria. And yeah, so those things you can deploy at scale now and be able to really at thousands of work orders, take that off of some of your team members and say, hey, listen, we now have this digital safety net that can help you remember, or if something's slipping, or if somebody takes a vacation and then doesn't reassign, it can help you kind of get to that point of, I've now reassigned, I've now commented, and now we know about this work order.
Yes, and I'm jotting down that digital safety net. Brandon coined it here first. So all y'all out here that are going to listen to this and go, wow, we got to start building that right now. Do your best, whatever. Brandon just said that. I love that term because that's what it really is. And what we used to do previously is we used to try to augment that with maybe a dedicated person, and that tends to ultimately lead to a bandwidth issue. And this is not, folks, about fancy bells and whistles. This is about a practical way to leverage machine learning. Oh, I said I was going to stay with AI, to leverage AI to make a real impact. Now, I want to ask this. Are you getting feedback from different clients, different types of clients, where they're confirming and validating that they're getting that added value, where it's creating a better availability of their own bandwidth to manage facilities and day-to-day ops?
Yes. So it also leads into the third agent of where it kind of elevates value add too. So there's yes, we're getting feedback that the inbound parse agent is saving time, monitoring agent is saving time and kind of detecting things and bubbling up. And then the alerts and analysis agent, that is where if you have any kind of we'll call it trust issues with AI, you can dip your toes in the water and understand what it would do and what it's detecting at scale. So the analysis and trends agent that you can deploy, exact same parameters. Every week, I want you to do this and look back at this many work orders to then bubble up an alert for me that I can download via Excel. And I can now see all the work orders that are slipping, all the work orders that are duplicates. I can now see all the work orders that maybe they weren't reassigned, or they're somebody made a comment and no one has responded. Maybe there's not a labor hour log. Maybe there's not this XYZ, everything that's part of your business process that might have been missed. And so those alerts that get generated on a periodic basis are the same criteria that you can now move into your monitoring agent, so that you're now receiving alerts. You're like, hey, these are the ones that are duplicate. It's identifying. These are the ones that are slipping. It's identifying. I want to go and take action on those. So we have a version of essentially, if you want to just get your kind of dip your toes in the water, you can receive those alerts, see what it's going to do, and then eventually get into the monitoring. But if you're kind of I'm all in AI, like let's do it. You can deploy this monitoring agent and start making comments and taking action on work orders immediately to find that value too.
Now, I'm curious, kind of a concern I think people should be thinking about and just asking themselves. So I'm going to ask you for them is how intensive is it on the client side from getting up to speed on this when it launches within their account, within their platform, right?
Hmm.
And then how kind of data management intensive is it for a human being to see what it's providing and then have to get in there and go do some work to get it back on track?
Yeah, so we did a ton of work up front for our end users. We've bucketed almost every scenario that we talked with people about, so that it's a I want to detect slipping work orders and I want you to alert me of that. That is literally like a selection. So you don't have to go in there and understand coding or understand models or anything like that. Really, the only thing that you have to tweak is instructions that you're telling the agent, which we have default instructions for every agent so that you can just kind of tweak those default instructions. So the reason that we did that is, one, that's kind of the philosophy of Flowpath, right? We're trying to make things as simple as possible. We listen to customers and we create these the flows to be very bucketed in their scenarios and those outcomes that they're solving for. The instructions that you can tweak is, I tell people every time that we onboard somebody for this, it's as if you're emailing me the criteria that you want to see from that action or from what is happening that in the agent. If you can tell me how to identify something that's slipping, or things that I need to go and figure out that are duplicates, or things that I need to go do and double check on the team of completed work orders, it's exactly how you would email me, and you can tell your agent that uh, that's what the instructions would look like.
So this is all sounding very, very practical. And I think, you know, even because we're saying it and talking about it, when I encourage people to check it out, it's just that, just check it out. If they're interested in learning about it. Now, if if we go a step further and we get into kind of like what's next, because you kind of teased you'd be able to share with me a little bit about what's next, if it's okay. Like, it's not, I don't
Yeah,
want people to know what you're working on if you don't want them to, but is there things that you could share about what's on the horizon for your clients, rather than, I mean, potential clients, great, good, all good, right? But for your existing clientele, because you are very focused on what they're doing,
yeah,
you're using that to inform what you do. You're not saying, hey, we think you should do this. You're saying, hey, what do you need? What can you
that's
share?
right. Yeah, absolutely. So from the AI automation package front, the next bucket, the next package that we are working on is going to be everything regarding assets and equipment lifecycle. So
Ooh, I
we've
like that.
basically packaged work orders and release that. We thought that was going to be the biggest impact initially to kind of introduce our customers to what AI agents can do. The and then we're essentially approaching it as every single module of Flowpath is going to have its own package that you can enable agents for. So the equipment and asset lifecycle is going to be the next package. That package is going to come with a lot of different items. So the agents that we're working on there are going to be equipment standardization and enrichment. So being able to just give us your current equipment, or give us, call it, different O&M manuals, or different pictures and manuals that you have of it, and be able to keep things kind of standardized across Flowpath. Second one's going to be your preventive maintenance schedule that's kind of attached to those equipment that get generated and standardized. And so imagine these agents as being able to just take in images or documents, generate and enrich themselves in Flowpath, and then generate PM schedules, all while you get to kind of see what is being generated. So we're taking off a huge chunk of headache and potential bandwidth issues from, one, keeping your data clean, and two, generating PM schedules from O&M or best practices. Maybe you're trying to go hire a six-figure consultant to do as well. But those are like kind of the two major ones that are part of the agent and or the equipment and asset lifecycle package that we're working on.
I like it. I like it. And I mean, that's going to have to be like a separate episode somewhere down the line, because right here, right now, we could spin out, because I've always had a belief. I don't know if, I'm kind of righteous. You guys know that about me, hard on my sleeve, where I think your assets, and when I say assets, I'm talking about your equipment assets, fixed or movable in any kind of facility, for me, I think are a real opportunity to basically mine for gold. I've always said things like, there's gold hiding in them assets right there. And, make sure you cover your assets, right? Being kind of funny on the first part of that word, because I'm in a space often, not just facilities and the things I was doing in the past, but also now very heavy in the maintenance and reliability space. And it's really all about that. Yes, we need safe, clean facilities. Yes, we need those types of things, the kind of typical work orders, light bulb change requests. We got to spill in aisle 3. We're talking about schools. We're talking about, especially in integrated facilities management, it could be
Hmm.
just about anything, not just campuses and school districts, but all the things those kind of companies do. But that's where you can really start driving that next level value. And when assets last longer, when they fail less, in maintenance and reliability, we call that the ultimate goal is availability for throughput and production. But in facilities environments like this, where you focus very heavily, now we're talking about air handlers, HVAC systems completely, elevators, elevator systems, boilers, you name it. We could spin out here like crazy.
Oh yeah.
And if we can keep those running better, more efficiently, breaking less, and then we start to have visibility to what those PMs are, I'm assuming, kind of dangerous, but I'm assuming that you can then also, on a client by client basis, they can start to figure out, hey, this OEM kind of spec on what we do in the PM and how frequently we do it needs to slightly change. What I'm talking about is preventive maintenance, or PM optimization, meaning it's important that I know, and this is kind of for everyone, at some point, it's important that am I doing this PM too frequently? Or do I need to do this PM over here a little bit more based on how the machine responds to the existing PM schedule? And also, is this PM even necessary? Does it do any of that yet?
So ours doesn't do that yet, but we're absolutely developing. We'll call it similar trends and analysis. Just how we have an analysis and trends for work orders, we're going to have one for equipment as well. Open up that equipment profile, be able to see, that AI summary of what's happening. Open up a PM schedule, see an AI summary of what's happening. But yeah, I completely agree. The opportunity of being able to have something that's just 24/7 running, monitoring your digital equipment and making sure that it's in sync and standardized with your PM schedules. Maybe there's an update to the latest and greatest, open source dictionaries out there for PM schedules that you might want to know about. And so at that point, I mean, there's a ton that people could deploy right now for employees. But again, bandwidth issues, we're just trying to help our customers get some time back, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's where the value is. You still got to do the work. This is not meant to be an easy button. It's about augmenting what these teams do. And first of all, Brandon Cummings, I want to thank you for this update because it's the next level of what I learned from Alex when he was on, when you first started bringing in that long developed and tested AI agent in the beginning, that functionality throughout. I'm going to be excited to hear when this next phase goes out. And I'm hoping I get to hear from some of the clients and maybe even have them on. We'll see if that works out.
Hey,
I would love to do that just to say, hey, how's this working for you? More about, where are you getting that value? How does it look from the client perspective? Because I love hearing those stories, because then it's like, wow, we did something, we delivered something, and there's an outcome that's making an impact. That's called adding value. And I'm all about that stuff, man. Not just take the money and run, but let's thrive together and make the world better. So one request, I'm kind of putting you on the spot, but I'm wondering if you could maybe make me something in the way of a short clip that kind of shows those three things in action that I could eventually share on CMMS radio for the
yeah.
masses, so that one person here and there might say, I'm interested, I want to learn about that. By the way, everybody, it's not to sell anything. I just want you to talk to these people. You don't have to buy from them. You just have to get to know them. They're going to want to understand you first. I've seen it for almost 5 years now. These guys have been talking to me and working with me. We've been helping people for about that long. It might be more like 4 years. You
Yeah.
can go to getflowpath.com/CMMSradio and sign up there. The reason I want you to do that is I want to be aware and kind of be a ride along to keep an eye on everyone, to be available to help. That's all that's for. If it works out and you do some business, I might catch a little something off it, but I just want people thriving, man. I love that stuff. So I could get a video like that maybe in the
Oh
future.
yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
Cool. Maybe talk to some customers on CMMS radio for 10 minutes.
I love that idea. We have some pretty, I think, podcast worthy customers that have it enabled. So we'll definitely we'll go back to the drawing board and think about who we think could be a good guest.
That would be perfect. And Alex and I talked about that, and he knows a couple of the ones that I already know that I worked with for years that would be viable candidates. So let me know. But I want to thank you, Brandon Cummings, for being back on CMMS Radio. It is always a pleasure to catch up with you. I'm always rooting for you guys, and it's about doing the good business that is all about chasing that elusive win-win that I'm always preaching about. Thanks, brother. Appreciate you being here.
Thanks, Greg.
People are asking why I like Flowpath, facility management platform. With 2 decades in the industry and a successful CMMS exit of my own, I value Flowpath's user-friendly and adaptable solution. It's ideal for school districts, colleges, integrated facilities management companies, or multi-location maintenance environments. It's more than features. It's about the team, their approach, and real maintenance experiences that count. Flowpath delivers on its promises. They take care of their customers. Companies I know personally are thriving with Flowpath. Explore it yourself with a demo tailored for CMMS Radio listeners by visiting getflowpath.com/CMMSradio. Did you find this episode helpful? Please send us some feedback, suggest a topic, or ask a question. Reach out to CMMS Radio if you need a co-pilot on your CMMS project. Visit CMMSradio.com and use the What's on Your Mind link. Thank you for tuning in to CMMS Radio, your resource for all things CMMS, from selection to implementation, to help you make better choices, learn from industry experts, and have a successful CMMS journey.